Yeah, yeah. What's the use case you want to share with us?
I would show you a co-selling use case. Give you a bit of an overview and we'll try to keep it lean. Tell me if you want to dig deeper.
We will.
All right. So this is the platform, the interface. What you see here is like all of the automations that I have running. Like I said in the beginning, basically company users for all kinds of use cases from the moment you are first talking to a partner through engagement and co-selling, etc. In the platform, you have just a high level overview. What I'm going to show you now is automations, but we also have the ability for people to create audiences and like run one-off campaigns, right? If I'm a partner manager and I want to let everybody in New York know that I have an event in Brooklyn, or I want to update all of my agency partners about something that
A new feature or
yeah, very easy to do. And the last thing is we have this Gmail extension that helps you basically provides you snippets, templates, and a couple of functionalities. So we eliminate the need to write any email twice. But what I want to show you is like the automation stuff, because I think that's where it gets really interesting. So I'm going to show you a co-sell workflow. I'm not going to go into too many details here, but one thing that's interesting about Superglue when you set up triggers is that in traditional MarTech, you can set up triggers based on stuff like, for example, deal stages, right? Like, oh, there is a deal that's in a negotiation stage and it's been stuck in there for 60 days. The thing about Superglue is now that we enable you to now go from the deal through your Salesforce, through the customer account, and, for example, identify a crossbeam overlap, which is always attached to an account, and merge that data. So now we allow you to build a trigger that actually merges overlap data with deal data, which means we help you identify where your partners actually need it. So this can be done with Crossbeam data. We can do this with ACE data, all kinds of data, right? And then the other thing that's unique about how Superglue works, we work with notifications when workflows trigger. You can also fully automate stuff. So if this workflow triggers, the way this looks for the partner manager is that they get a notification in Slack. So once this is up and running, what Superglue does for me as a partner manager, I get these notifications when I need to interact with my partners in Slack. It's a bit of a, everybody has a co-pilot nowadays, but that's kind of how you can imagine it, right? Like basically Superglue tells you, hey, this is what just happened. We've got this deal that's stuck. So now as a partner manager, I can decide what happens next. I can approve the workflow, discard it, or I can customize it.
Yep.
If I click customize, I'm taken into this interface and I can review the messaging and trigger this message. If I trigger a message, it's always sent from my own Gmail or Outlook account as a partner manager, which means that this feels personal, right? Like for the receiving party, this doesn't feel automated, which is why
Yep.
we have like 3 to 5 times higher open rates, engagement rates, click rates. Because obviously, if you get an automated email from your PRM telling you, hey, you need to log in, or from Crossbeam telling you there's an overlap, you're going to treat that differently than if I sent you an email and I'm like, hey, Lizzie, I think we should work on this deal. The other thing that's interesting, I'm jumping back into the workflow about these workflows, is that these workflows aren't linear, right? I don't just go to my partner and ask them for help. I need to involve my AEs. So what we've built is this unique ability for Superglue to initiate conversations between AEs and partner managers. So the next step might be, and again, I can configure this however I want, that Superglue now reaches out to my AE and starts a conversation between my AE, this guy, and the app and me, and tells us, hey, the AE, I saw you're working on this deal. Looks like you need help. We have this partner that could help. Do you actually want help? Yes or no? So now they can influence the workflow. They could also just talk to me and ask me a question.
Yep.
So what we've seen with that is that this really drives adoption. So this is like the internal enablement. Rather than doing trainings and telling people how to use widgets, I figure out when my AE needs a partner or when a partner adds value, reach out to them, tell them why, and all they got to do is click yes or no. And what that leads to is that AEs like instantly start adopting this. Are they? Because obviously, like I meet them when they need something, and I make the getting help as easy as clicking yes or no. And the last step that I'm going to show you in this, because we said we're going to do a mini demo, is like the multi-stakeholder messaging. Traditional marketing automation, even like HubSpot, can only send either external or internal emails. But now if the AE says she wants help, I not need to connect my AE with my partner. So Superglue can basically build or trigger messages, again, sent from partner managed inbox to the partner and the AE, where I connect the two of them. And then obviously, over time, Superglue can keep tracking if these two talk, if the deal moves forward, so that we stay on top of stuff, which I think is very important, because what we see a lot is that, and this is not just related to co-selling, but also like onboarding, enablement, people tell their partners what they expect and then forget about them, right? Just like in sales, velocity matters, right? Like there is excitement, there's a willingness to help. You got to leverage that. And if it takes too long to get back on stuff, or you forget about stuff, you obviously lose out on a lot of opportunities.
This looks like you're trying to bring more transparency into this relationship. You're trying to create more value out of this relationship based on this workflow. You also want to ensure that there is some sort of quality of conversation and the pace of that. But a question I have is, how do you measure effectiveness? Is there anything on your platform that tells you, look, maybe that pace is not enough, or maybe the quality needs a little bit more engagement of someone who can come from the product marketing and maybe explain a little bit more about the product, right? Like anything like that platform can provide.
That's a really good point. So ultimately, the vision is like, our big vision is like to 10x, right, partner teams, right? To take what a partner manager does and give them the ability to do a lot more, because we help them be more data driven, right? We tell them what's going on, where there's actually, money to be made ultimately. And then we kind of replace the manual workflow. And we have we didn't do the AI capability stuff and that kind of stuff, right? We can hyper-personalize emails, etc. And then there's an important question, like, how do I track performance? There are two ways to track performance or look at performance. There are leading indicators. So I'm going to jump back into the platform. So the leading indicators are things just like activities, right? So in the platform, I can see, and this is obviously my dummy account, but I can see just like volume, right? I have use cases. I see the volume, how many messages I send, for instance. But then I also see like quality scores, right? An open rate and a reply rate gives me a quality indication. And keep in mind, not every workflow needs a reply, but I can look at this stuff, and our customers do that. So they do look at, I'm like, hey, I've, with this one customer, and like we also track how many people are engaged, right? With one customer, they like small case, usually our customers are bigger, but we have this one customer where they had like just 2 people, and the 2 people within 2 months engaged 700 people on top of what they usually did. And, 700 people that they wouldn't have talked to within 2 months. And then they looked at the data, they looked at the open rates. They had open rates above 60%, which is spectacular, up to 80% for the workflows where they wanted replies, depended on the workflows, right? They had very high reply rates, up to 25, 30%. So what we've shown there is that we've driven engagement. People are interested, people are replying. This stuff matters. That's the leading indicator. And then obviously the lagging indicator is the impact on sourced revenue very often. We don't track that. That's something that you track in other tools. We're always thinking about it. And, there might be some stuff on the roadmap, but that's something that I've seen people kind of try to assess, just compare like pre and post Superglue, right? You have obviously like a certain ramp time. What happens, for example, how many deals are Superglue uncovering that? Because we see that people max out, right? Like if we have this recent case where we have a company that they work with AWS, and the AWS team is like, we can't do more. We just like the amount of deals that we work on, like that's it. So we build workflows to take them, basically add more deals, and we could see that they were stagnating, and they added more deals to where they were kind of stuck. But that's a bit more of a complex question.